Hey, what's up? This is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel. Now, who's ready for some fighting words? In this video, I want to do a fantasy fight for Oleksandr Usyk and Jai Opetaia. Really quick, if you like the videos, please take the time right now, subscribe to the channel. It literally takes one click. Also, if you could, hit the thumbs up button. It shows love and it supports this channel. So let's jump into this. Why am I doing this fantasy fight between Jai Opetaia and Oleksandr Usyk? Well, because Usyk really doesn't have anybody to fight. The heavyweight division is kind of trash. And there's really, I mean, we could talk Moses, but I feel like that's a fight in the making, and I don't want to rush him. While you have Jai Opetaia, he's full steam ahead, and he's clearly going to move up to heavyweight anyway, and he's typically fighting bigger guys anyway, and the talk of him and Usyk possibly matching up one day has come up several times as is, so I just said, you know what? Why not? I feel like it's inevitable. I feel like it's going to happen sooner or later. And I think it's a very marketable fight. So that's the reason why I'm doing this. Now, normally I start off a resume, so I'm going to start off a resume. However, Jai Opetaia's resume to Oleksandr Usyk is, non-existent. If you just look at cruiserweight, I feel like Usyk fought better people at cruiserweight. And that's not Jai's problem. That's not his fault. It's just that the time in which Usyk was coming up through cruiserweight, there was better opposition. And unfortunately, we don't have that same opposition right now. But, I mean, he does have some, some good wins with Brightus, Zorro. He's David Nika. Those are good guys. But are they anywhere the caliber of where Usyk was when he was in cruiserweight? Absolutely not. I don't think it, clearly not. And then Usyk goes up to heavyweight and he starts fighting giants. AJ, Anthony Joshua, Derek Chisora, Tyson Fury, Daniel Dubois. So it's just like, again, if we're looking at the resume, clearly this looks like a mismatch. But we're going to see how things are going to even out as we go on. Power. Now, Usyk has never been known as a power puncher, ever. And it was shocking to see him knock out Daniel Dubois, who is a power puncher. And, that was the only chance he was going to have of winning and beating Usyk was to knock him out, a knockout. It wasn't going to be his stellar boxing ability versus Oleksandr Usyk. So that was shocking. But when we talk about power, we got to go to Jai Opetaia. Now, Jai Opetaia is, like I said, typically fights smaller people. So he's typically the smaller guy in there, but he can get guys out of there. He's a finisher. He hits hard. But he can get you out of there. And he can get you out of there with one punch. Nonetheless, a sequence of punches, but one punch can get an opponent out of there. You look at Usyk, he's not renowned. He was never known for being a knockout artist, not even at cruiserweight. He just wasn't known for that. That's not his thing. That's not his shtick. His shtick is boxing. So I got to give that to Jai Opetaia. Boxing IQ. You got to give it. Listen, all right. Now, Jai Opetaia, I think he's very talented. I think he's very skilled, and I think he has natural ability. But it is almost insanity to go against Oleksandr Usyk at this point. Unless you're talking about Terrence Crawford or, in a way, it's darn near insanity to go against Oleksandr Usyk, and I'm not going to do that now. So when it comes to boxing IQ, clearly we got to go with Oleksandr Usyk. I mean, he's got like 300 amateur matches or something like that, and I think he's lost like 10 or something like that. You got to give it to Oleksandr Usyk. But also, the king at cruiserweight, then moves up to heavyweight. He's the king again, undisputed. You got to give it to Oleksandr Usyk, and that's boxing IQ because it's not his knockout power. It's not his punch is so hard that it really catches people's attention. It's not that. No, it's his boxing IQ. So for that reason, we have to. I think Jai's very talented, but it would be insane to say that he has more boxing IQ than Oleksandr Usyk. Let's see. Speed. Jai Opetaia, by far. Jai Opetaia. I think at one point in time, when Usyk was at cruiserweight, maybe, he would have been faster. But right now, Jai Opetaia. I think his whole engine is made for speed and power and just short burst. So I got to go with Jai Opetaia. Defense, Jai Opetaia. I think, here's the thing. Here's the funny thing about Usyk. Great boxing IQ. Great lateral movement. great footwork, great jab. But Usyk gets hit like a lot. Like if Derek Chisora can hit you, what is that saying about your defense if he can hit you? Because he's not like a master boxer. He's an upscale ballroom brawler at best. Okay? That's what he is. Or a collegiate street fighter. That's what he is. He is not a boxer. For him to hit you consecutively, over and over again, round after round, and for him to say after the fight he was feeling good in the fight, he should have never been let in the fight. Okay? So, defense, I'm definitely going to go with Jai Opetaia. I think his legs, I think his head movement. I think Usyk does have great head movement. But, like I said, he gets hit a lot. AJ hit him a lot. Tyson Fury hit him a lot. Tyson Fury doesn't count because he's a technician as well. But nonetheless, he gets hit a lot. You got to go with Jai Opetaia. Mental toughness. I'm going to give this one a tie. I just said that Usyk went from cruiserweight, he shot all the way up to heavyweight, and became the king all over again. While you look at Jai Opetaia, the fight with Brightus, he's literally fighting with a broken jaw. So yes, it takes mental fortitude to do what Usyk did, but it takes mental fortitude to do what Jai did. That is not easy. He's in serious pain. He has to block that pain out and continue on the rounds. That isn't easy. He has to keep his mind on the prize. That ain't easy. It hurts. Got to give it a tie. Let's see. Who's better at range? You know, I feel like Ja is better at range because I feel like Usyk has physically become a heavyweight. And for him to physically, fully become a heavyweight, he had to move closer to guys. And he's more comfortable in that, that closer range. But when on the outside, I feel like Jai Opetaia could probably go to work. Like, especially with somebody smaller like an Usyk, he could go to work. But here's the catch to that. Usyk throws more punches, way more punches. Ja is not known for throwing a ton of punches in a round. So you have the Usyk. All right, he may not be as fast as he used to be. He may not have the legs that he used to have. And then again, excuse me, he doesn't need them because he's fighting these bigger guys. But he throws a lot more punches than Jai Opetaia, by far. So when it comes to range, I guess I'm going to give it a tie now, just because of the punch output. Durability, who's more durable? I just mentioned Brightus and the broken jaw. But Ja has not been fighting heavyweights. These guys are big, but they're not heavyweights. Usyk has been fighting heavyweights. Usyk is not a big guy. Durability, I'm going with Usyk. Because he's taking punches from dynamite punchers, Dynamite Dubois. You can say whatever you want about Tyson Fury. That man is still 270 freaking pounds. So you can say whatever you want about him. He hits you, it's going to hurt. You're going to feel it, whether you like it or not. I don't care if it's a jab. You're going to feel it. AJ is a finisher. AJ can get anybody out of there. Chisora can get anybody out of there. For him to take punches from those guys and have multiple fights with those guys and be standing up at the end of those fights says a lot about him. I'm definitely going with Oleksandr Usyk when it comes to durability. Cardio. Who has better cardio? Usyk. Because he has to. Those guys are bigger because he has to. I think Ja has great cardio, but he's the one pushing those guys. When Usyk is in the ring with, these giants, he has to move. He has to move. He has to have a high punch output. He knows he's not going to win by a knockout, so he has to have a high punch output. Got to give it to Usyk. You got to give it to Usyk. I'm not saying Ja can't do it. I'm just saying Ja's typically the predator in the ring, so he doesn't need to do it. I'm not saying he doesn't possess that, but he doesn't need to do it. And he doesn't do it. He's the one stalking guys. So I'm going to go with Usyk when it comes to durability. Creativity. I'm going to go with a tie. I think it's a tie. Usyk does some trickery type things. And all you have to do is look at the Fury fight. He does some very trickery type things. And you have to pay close attention. A lot of it's subtle. While you look at Ja, it's just short burst. You know, he can be backing up, then he can burst forward. He can be doing this, and he can burst into this. It's just these short bursts. Ja fights like a much smaller guy. Very light on his feet. Both guys are actually very light on their feet. That's one thing I've always noticed about that Ukrainian style, that Slavic styles. They're very light on their feet. You know, you look at Lomachenko, very light on his feet. You know, just look at Yanibek, very light on his feet. You know, guys like that, just very light on their feet. Madrimov, very light on his feet. Then you look at Usyk, very light on his feet. You look at Jai Opetaia, very light on his feet, but with huge burst in between. Huge burst. He could be backing up, and then suddenly he decides, I want to go forward. You better be ready for that, because a lot's coming with it, and very bad intention. Last but not least, my favorite category, danger. Who's more dangerous? Is it Jai Opetaia or is it Oleksandr Usyk? You have to go with Jai Opetaia. I think he is a finisher, true and true. I think he hits hard. I think he has bad intention. I don't think he walks in there with the intention of going all 12 rounds. Usyk does. He does. Ja does not. Ja's trying to get you out of there. Ja wants to hurt you at all times. Ja's always thinking about a way to hurt you at all times. I think Usyk is thinking about a way to collect points at all times, and if an opportunity arises during him collecting his points, he will take it. But I don't think he has this conquering, taking souls type mentality, chopping off heads type mentality like Jai Opetaia has. He has that mentality. That's his culture. He has that mentality, and he shows it every time he steps in the ring. You know, when he's fighting these undefeated guys, or he's fighting these big guys, and they're towering over him, and he crushes them. They eat canvas. So when it comes to danger, I think he's more dangerous. I think he's more dangerous in a sequence of punches. I think he's more dangerous in a combination. I think he's more dangerous in a one-punch knockout. I just think he's more dangerous. I think he's more dangerous backing up, and I clearly think he's more dangerous going forward. I think he's more dangerous. But looking at my tally, I got Oleksandr Usyk winning. It's so difficult to say with a straight face that he's going to lose at this point. Like, it's really difficult. Like, I haven't counted him out. I said he was going to beat Fury. I said he was going to beat both times. I said he was going to beat AJ. I said he was going to beat Dubois. It's just very difficult to look at someone in the eye and say, yeah, Oleksandr Usyk's going to lose to this guy who's not a heavyweight. If he can take a punch from AJ, if he can take a punch from Chisora, if he can take a punch from Dubois, he can take a punch from Jai Opetaia. It's true. AJ, I think, throws more punches than Jai Opetaia. So that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem because AJ throws more punches. Chisora probably throws about an equal amount of punches. Dubois throws about the same amount of punches as Jai Opetaia. So it's going to be a problem. I don't know how Ja cuts off the ring for Usyk, and I don't know if he's going to be the guy who's going to walk Usyk down. I don't know. But it's just almost insanity to say that he's going to lose. And I can't say it right here. I think it would be an awesome fight. I think it would be a fan-pleasing fight. And I think it would be a super fight. A very big money fight. I think Australia is hot right now. I think Jai Opetaia is sizzling right now. I think Usyk is still the king. And I think it makes sense. But it's hard to go against the king. I'm going to have to go with Oleksandr Usyk. Drop your thoughts down below.